Welcome to Inside the Nation podcast. I am your host, Eric Thoreau. And actually, before I get started on the second episode of Season 2, I want to let you know that Inside the Nation podcast will also be commonly known as ITN, using it for an acronym. ITN for Inside the Nation podcast. So whenever you see me post, whether it be on the website or any of our social media accounts, ITN podcast or ITN newsletter, that's our Inside the Nation podcast and form. So with that said, let's get started for episode 2 of season 2 for the campaign 2017 season, hashtag AFL 30. So taking a look at this week on Inside the Nation podcast, we're going to take a look back on the week 3 action, which had the Philadelphia Soul traveling to the nation's capital in a battle of undefeated, and then the Cleveland Gladiators looking to score their first win on the road at the Tampa Bay Storm. We're also going to discuss how actually attendance figures are reported. This is a common topic that's always brought up on the social media forums and Facebook groups, and people always comment that what they see in the crowd on TV looks less than what is actually announced. And again, we're going to break it down, and this is how it actually is announced and works. So with that said, we're going to take a look on the attendance figures and how not just the Arena Football League, but basically any event that happens at a venue report their figures. And then we're also going to discuss some of the answers that I had posted up on social media regarding marketing efforts of individual teams. I've had a couple of responses back, and we'll discuss that. And also, I'm going to discuss ways on you could cast the live stream, AFL live stream, to your TV, so that way you don't have to be stuck on a mobile device like your phone, your tablet, or your computer even to watch it. You can actually watch it and listen to it, as if it was a regular TV broadcast through your regular TV. And then we're going to preview week 4 action, this coming up week's action, and see what is going to take place and what are the favorites. So let's start with the Soul and the Valor, the battle of the undefeated in the nation's capital. The Philadelphia Soul won the coin toss but elected to kick off to the Valor, so that way they deferred to the second half. Is basically how things usually work with the Arena Football League. And it opened up with a great action by the Valor and scoring 2 touchdowns and taking a quick lead of 14-0. The Soul fired back with a 34-yard touchdown pass from Radaball to Money Reynolds, and they were closing the gap. What got me on this one is that the Valor scored all their points in the first half. They did not score in the second half, which I'll get to in a moment. And they were leading. Actually, they had the lead close towards the end of the first half, but then just lost at the last few seconds. And then the Soul would basically take control and shut things out for the second half. I can't remember going to an arena football game to where I've seen one team not score 1 point in the entire second half. I remember going to a football game, arena game, and seeing it happen for the first half and even for the first 3 quarters. That has to take me back all the way back to Arena Bowl 16 when the Arizona Rattlers visited the San Jose SaberCats for Arena Bowl 16 that was played at the then named Compaq Center at San Jose. And the Arizona Rattlers did not score on the SaberCats until roughly around 9 minutes left in the game for their very first points. And they would only score twice in that whole game to score 14 points, and the SaberCats won their first Arena Bowl title in their franchise history. So, with that said, it just confused me that the Valor, I thought, were coming off a strong week, or actually, they were coming off a bye. They were coming off a strong victory to debut the team over the soon-to-be rival Brigade, which is also the expansion team. But to really get themselves to be considered a caliber team, they would have to face the defending Arena Bowl champion Philadelphia Soul and more established teams like the Cleveland Gladiators and also the Tampa Bay Storm to basically validate themselves. defeating the Brigade, another startup team with quality players on that franchise, quality players on both franchises, is just a welcoming mat. Give the Washington's ninth man, Valor Nation, a chance to experience what to expect for that season. But now that they really do have their feet wet and they went and played the Philadelphia Soul, the reigning Arena Bowl champions, now they know to better prepare themselves and how to go, especially for the fans there. They know this is going to be a high-impact, high-energy season, and they need to get their butts out to the Verizon Center and root on their Valor, because this is going to be a great season for them, a great debut season for them, and the only great things are expected to happen. The Washington Valor, unfortunately, came up on the short end of that game. I believe the final score was 49-31. They had, once again, great showing at the Verizon Center. They had announced attendance was 12,122 fans. It's a come down from the high of the debut game 2 weeks ago of 15,579, but yet you're still up there in numbers, and that's what we like to see in the Arena Football League. With that said, the Valor just need to come back and finish strong. Dean Kokinos, I'm sure, will correct the mistakes or any issues that arise basically from not scoring in the second half, which is unheard of, because this is a league based off of the offense, so you expect the offense to score at least once per quarter. It can happen to where teams can't score or hold a team from scoring in a quarter, but for 2 consecutive quarters, and especially in the second half to end of the game, that is highly unheard of. So as that said, we will take a look at what the Washington Valor can do to correct itself, and then the Philadelphia Soul are finally going to go home to the Wells Fargo Center to finally debut their Arena Bowl championship flag in front of Philadelphia's ninth man, Soul Nation, and play their first game at home. So with that said, we'll take a look at those two home games, those two next games coming up in week 4 at the next segment in the podcast. And until then, we're going to actually move on and talk about the Cleveland Gladiators traveling to Tampa Bay, Florida, and to take on the Storm. Week 1 had Tampa going to Cleveland to debut the season, and Tampa walked away with the victory in front of Cleveland. Cleveland has issues at the quarterback position. Who are they going to start? We don't know. When they opened the season, you thought it would be clear that after last season's success and going to the conference championship game against the Arizona Rattlers, that Cleveland would just come back and start Arvell Nelson. For whatever reason, Arvell wasn't there for the first week's games. He was signed midweek prior to week 2 against the Brigade. And of course, a lot of questions are asked, why didn't they start him right off the bat? Well, you got to get the rust off. Like it is with any game, any player coming in for the first time, get a little bit of the rust off, and they wanted to test out other quarterbacks they had on the roster, and it worked out well. And towards the fourth quarter, when the quarterback was getting injured, and he was shaking his hand a lot during the game, and I got to look up his name. I think it was McNaffy. He was he came in from the Montreal Alouettes. Okay, as I pull it up here, it was quarterback Tanner Marsh, who actually threw for 288 yards and 4 touchdowns in his Gladiators debut, which is not bad for someone coming from an outdoor game. You would think, NFL, one-size field, but to come from the Canadian Football League, which is even a bigger field, and you have a lot more room than even the NFL and outdoor game that we expect here, or we come accustomed to here in the States. But to narrow all the way down to the 50-yard indoor war, Tanner Marsh did pretty well as considered a genuine AFL rookie quarterback. And I'm sure Cleveland will keep him on the roster and develop him. He may be the future quarterback for the team. Who knows what will happen? and we don't know to the extent of his injury. I know that I saw during the game that he was shaking his throwing hand a few times after he got knocked down. So, but with Cleveland, they changed quarterbacks. They went with Arvell Nelson, who's their more veteran quarterback on the franchise. In the first week, they had Shane Boyd, who was like a free agent pickup from the Arizona Rattlers, who are now no longer with the league. They're now in an indoor football team playing for another league, the IFL. And Cleveland probably thought that he could transition well as starter, but things happen. I saw a lot of issues with their offensive line. Offensive line wasn't great in the pass protect, and the quarterbacks weren't really there to get the game off, right away, to throw the ball off quick, because you have to be quick in this league. You can't hold on to the ball, because what happened with Shane Boyd and with Tanner Marsh, just a lot of knockdowns, a lot of hurry-ups, a lot of miscues, and you can't really have that here in the AFL. So that's one thing I see Cleveland needing to fix up. They need to fix up that offensive line. They have a strong core of receivers, so there's nothing really wrong on that part. Their defense is what it is for the AFL. You can't really expect too much on the defensive side for no matter what team. If you get a team that has a defense that truly dominates consistently throughout the entire year, then you've done yourself well as an organization. But keep in mind, this is an offensive-sided and offensive-minded league, and that's what we expect. Now, as far as for the Baltimore Brigade, you're saying, well, who do they play? What happened with them? Nothing. They had a bye week. So basically, to put this on, they have one more road game. They're going to be, I believe, playing in Philadelphia for Philadelphia's opener next week, and then they'll finally get their home game. If you're Baltimore's ninth man and you're questioning when are we going to get our chance to play here at the Royal Farms Arena, well, you will in May, the first week in May. I can see from the fact that since Baltimore was rushed and put together, it's not likely to do this in such a quick fashion like they were, that with them having as many road games at the beginning of the season and then that one week to add extended time to it for the bye, I can see that doing that to help with the facility people at the Royal Farms Arena to do what they need to do to get the field down and to get everything prepared for the league so they could do it right. And that's, I believe, is a good plan and good strategy, even though from the fans' standpoint, we want our fair share of games too early on, and we want to wait for it. We don't want to wait for it. We want to dive into the action of the AFL. So that's what's going on with the Baltimore Brigade. That's what's going on with week 1 action, week 3 action. It feels like week 1 just started, so that's what we're working on right now. Next up, let's discuss actually, how do they announce attendance figures? Well, over the last couple years, last 2 years now, I could say, doing Ninth Man Nation, and then questions came into point when I was running the fan club for the San Jose SaberCats. People were wondering about that too, and it was just with the league being a much bigger organization than it was in the past years. Everybody always says that when they see things on camera, it's different than what they actually announce at the games. Well, not just arena football, but NFL, baseball, basketball, all basically not even sports related, just sports only, but all venues announce higher attendance at events than what actually shows up in the particular seat. They can do this because once a ticket is sold, it's not their responsibility to make sure that person who buys that ticket or is given that ticket or whatever is handed that ticket. Once they get that ticket in their possession, it's not the event planners or organizers to say, hey, now you have to show up so we can count you as an attendance. No, they could count them because the ticket was printed and sold or whatever. So that's how they announce it. Once the ticket is printed, they can announce that as attendance, because it's not up to them to make an obligation to actually go to the game. If I were to buy a ticket to a game, and then for whatever reason something came out to where I can't show up, and I will, of course, do my due diligence to maybe try either give it to a friend or try to sell it to get the money back that I paid for it or whatever to make sure it gets used. But if I can't do that, they can still announce it because it was purchased. And that's what they do. So you may not see, the 12,122 that was announced for the game in Washington, D.C., or the 9,119 that was announced in Tampa, Florida, as being the actual physical bodies, but that's what is printed out. And getting these tickets printed up and being sold for that amount of numbers is better than anything, because it means people have their eyeballs and have an interest in going to the game, which is good news. So we shouldn't all, really complain too much about ticket announcements being higher than what we actually physically see. If tickets are printed, that's a good thing. That means people are knowing about the event and are showing interest. Now, when the time they purchase their tickets, if they can't go, that's a whole different thing. But at least they have an interest in this league, and that's what we want. So let's just be glad that people are showing up. Yes, we want every single seat filled all the time. That looks great on TV. That looks great on, the internet TV that we're streaming. But to be all said and honest, people are buying tickets. They know about the event. They're interested. That's why they invest their money into going to the event, or at least initiating the purchase of the tickets, whether it's just one ticket or whether it's 1,000 tickets, whatever. At least they're going to these events and they're aware of them. And that's the good thing. And that's what we need to, concentrate more on than to really worry about what's being announced as attendance and what is actually looks like it shows up in an arena. So, and sometimes, a lot of times from the camera angles, you can't really see in it. It may look distracting. It may, not look truly genuine. So that's my little 2 cents on, what's going on with the attendance. And I hope that can break it down for you as far as for how attendance works. Focusly on the Arena Football League. We want it to be successful. So let's just try not to be too negative about things, especially we need to be more positive and going, and we need to show up physically at the games, yes, to encourage other cities for expansion that are going to be happening next year, to show up to the games. Let's be encouraging, to have positive talk, and let's just talk about the positive and how this football league is a true fan sport and is one of the only, basically, that I know of, is the only one that has a fan bill of rights that's published on their website. So that's what's going on with the attendance, and that's how attendance are announced. Now let's move on, discussing some of the question I posted last week on social media. I made a quick 1-minute video, and I posted it on Instagram and all our social media accounts. Basically, what are the marketing tactics that individual teams can use to better get them out there in the public and then in the community more aware of, that they're there. Because I know some of the media doesn't really pay recognition to the league, especially now that we're down to 5 teams. The local media won't do as much until that particular team maybe get close to the playoffs or close to the Arena Bowl game, and then suddenly they'll put chime on it. But what can the individual teams to do? One person said in Cleveland that they work well with the other tenants, and they share the Quicken Loans Arena with the Lake Erie Monsters. Actually, Lake Erie Monsters are now branded Cleveland Monsters, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's fine. I also come with I've had this talks, like with last year with the LA Kiss about them. How about sharing it with your neighbors, like the Major League Baseball that's going on with us? You could do that because it's coinciding. The baseball season's taking place right now. Arena football is taking place right now. So if your city has a baseball team, and I believe all cities that are participating this year do in fact have a baseball team. The Cleveland Gladiators have the Cleveland Indians. The Philadelphia Soul have the Philadelphia Phillies. Baltimore Brigade have the Baltimore Orioles. The Washington Valor have the Washington Nationals. And the Tampa Bay Storm have the Tampa Bay Rays. So work it out with this, especially if it's beneficial, if the venue of the baseball stadium is in a close proximity to the arena where the football team plays. If there is a baseball game that's on prior to the arena football game, how about working with where fans from the baseball game can show their ticket stub that they went to that game, come to the arena, and maybe the arena team will give them a certain percentage off or a discount or whatever of some sort for coming to the arena game and purchasing a ticket for the arena game. They'll get a discounted ticket, and vice versa. If the arena game happens before the baseball game, then how about the baseball organization give an arena fan a discounted ticket for going to the baseball game? It could work by both ways. Discounted ticket prices is just one right off the top of my head that I could think that could work well. If you have overlapping basketball or hockey seasons, because I know it's most likely postseason for those two leagues while the Arena Football League is getting on the way. If that is the case, how about also giving discounted tickets to the hockey and basketball teams and doing the same thing? Most likely they're not playing on the same days because it's the same venue, but work out a discount. That may already have happened with some of the teams. They may give out season ticket holders, or whatever. So work out a relationship to the other sporting events that are happening, and encourage, the two, because people who are baseball fans, they may be diehard baseball fans who go to these games and may not either know of the Arena Football League, may not even care, but then they've never been to a game. So if we just open them up with, discounted prices, hey, you went to a Baltimore Orioles game, and now that Saturday, which is like a 1:00 game on a Saturday, it ends at 4:00, and then you have like 3 hours to get to Royal Farms Arena and to get to a 7 or 7:30 p.m. game at the Royal Farms Arena to watch the Brigade play, who are they going to play. We'll give you like a little discounted ticket price for coming, and that's offensive, and you can bring in the family or whatever. That's where I can see where the marketing thing is. So that will answer that question. I like that question. Answer, yes. Working with other teams, especially if they're your own venue, and a lot of these teams are owned by or operated by, like hockey teams or whatever, except for the Philadelphia Soul, are basically their own entity. They're not related to the Flyers or the 76ers there. They just share the same arena. They have their own ownership group there, but that's what we could work on. That's one thought that I've had that could go well with it. Work with the other sports team, like especially baseball. And I've heard a lot of worried about when the Brigade are going to start up, how Baltimore fans, because they're so diehard into the Baltimore Orioles, how they're going to do it. Well, build a relationship and work both ways, offer discounted tickets or whatever, especially if the games are on the same day. So that's where I see about that in marketing efforts. That's just one point, as far as for relationship in the community amongst sports franchises. Other ones is, TV and radio. Work well with the radio stations, and it doesn't have to be sports only, TV programming. It doesn't have to be sports only radio programming. Work on like rock stations or top 40 stations or dance stations or whatever you even oldies or whatever. Just work with the relationship and get the listeners out there, have an ear and listen to your commercials or do contests or do ticket giveaways through the radio stations or whatever. That's another way I can see marketing being done. Now I'm going to move on to a question that was raised from one of our followers on Google Plus page. He was wondering how he can watch the game on CBS Sports, but he can't watch the other game. And for myself, I don't pay a cable carrier or a TV provider like Comcast. I don't pay AT&T for their UVerse or their DirecTV. I don't pay Charter. We don't have Charter cable here, but I don't pay that, or Verizon Fios. I don't pay any of that, or Dish Network, DirecTV. I don't pay any for that. My TV programming to my TV is over-the-air HD. I do have internet access through Comcast, high speed, and basically what I do is, unfortunate that I have an Apple TV connected to my 4K Ultra HD TV, and then what I do is I have either my iPhone, my iPad, or my MacBook, whatever is more convenient at the time, cast the video stream that's on AFL Live, and I cast it over to my Apple TV, and therefore I can watch it on the TV. And I watched the last game, which was the Philadelphia Soul at Washington Valor. They were using the Monumental Sports and Entertainment Sports Network stream. and I was able to watch that on my big screen TV like it was a regular TV program minus the commercials. The week beforehand, I watched AFL Live on my TV as I casted the Cleveland Gladiators, Baltimore Brigade. They were using the in-house arena feed, and then the radio station for the Cleveland Gladiators was doing the audio, so they broadcasted that on AFL Live, and that's what I casted to my TV. It's actually called mirroring. Basically, you're just mirroring your device over to there, and then you're making it go full screen. So that's basically how I did it. If you have a Google Chromecast attached to your TV, you can Chromecast it to, if you're watching CBS Sports Network, which does stream through YouTube TV now. I know that's available in 6 markets. And I believe it's New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, San Francisco, and San Jose, and I think one other market. I can't remember the other market. But if you're in those markets, you can get YouTube TV, and CBS Sports Network is part of the initial package. They're expanding their program. If you buy your package through YouTube, tv.youtube.com, it's $35 a month. But if you are in iOS and you buy through the iTunes store, then it's $39.99 per month. So, of course, go to tv.youtube.com and get the $5 discount on that. If you do it, the first month is free. Like I said, they're expanding. So that's one way. A lot of questions saying that CBS Sports Network does not stream, which is correct. CBS Sports Network does not stream, whether it be on its website or its mobile app. So that's taken care of. Now, if you have a TV provider that has a mobile streaming app, like Xfinity's launching out with Xfinity Now, DirecTV Now, if you do have that and you're able to watch TV, they go based off of what your login is. You have to have the coinciding TV provider. So if you have DirecTV, you can get the DirecTV Now app that they're now promoting. But whatever programs you have at home on your DirecTV at home they're going to be the same channels that you get on your mobile app. You're not going to get anything further than that. Same thing with Xfinity. If you have, Comcast, Xfinity, TV, whatever package you have, you'll get it on their mobile app, and you're able to watch the exact same things. You're not going to get any of the channels. So if your package does not include CBS Sports Network, for some reason, then you're not going to get it on your mobile app. So that's on stream. The only way it's streaming it's basically through YouTube, but that's also part of the TV package that you get. And then you could Chromecast it to your TV if your TV has Chromecast media device attached to it or has Chromecast built into it. So that's how it is. That's how the TV packages are working, all the streaming. I wanted to just break that down because that was a lot of questions I was getting on how to get the Arena Football program fed to you. So I'll probably break that down in the show notes a little bit more. But basically that's it for the Streamcast. And really briefly, this wasn't in what I was going to mention as I sent out in our newsletter. By the way, if you go to ninthmannation.net or ninthmannation.com, and right then when you pop up, a window pops up to where you can subscribe to our newsletter. I send it out basically very early in Monday mornings. And we've done our 3 editions already. So be sure to subscribe to the newsletter to get weekly updates and updates. But if you want up to the minute know the house, you can also subscribe to our text messaging. And you just text the word Ninth Man, the number 9, THMAN, to 31996. And that will subscribe you. Of course, it will ask for your authorization, and then you confirm, and that's how you can subscribe to our text messaging. So with that said, now let's go and take a look at Week 4 action. What's coming up for Week 4? Actually, before we take a look at Week 4, I want to just bring up this quick note. Actually, I was doing beforehand. I just want to bring a quick note that on this Wednesday, basically 2 days after this podcast, I'll be doing a quick a Facebook live stream. I'll at least try it. I'm not sure how that's going to work. It'll be our first stream. I have a new feature on my computer, my MacBook, that I'll allow to do a screen capture. So what I'll do is do a Facebook Live, and it will show you the navigation and the looks of Ninth Man Nation website. So that's what I'll be doing. I emailed that out. I think that's going to happen at 3:30 Pacific Daylight Time, PDT. So that's when that's going out this Wednesday. So you can log on to facebook.com/ninthmannation and like the page if you haven't already. I don't know why you haven't already. And get ready for the live stream. It'll be our first one. So with that said, now let's go and take a look at Week 4. Week 4 is actually going to start a day early. It's going to actually start this Friday with Washington traveling to Cleveland. So Cleveland will be heading back home, and they'll be playing in front of Cleveland's 9-man at the Q. They host the Washington Valor, who go on the road and play their very first road game in franchise history. First road game ever, I guess, is the theme for the Valor. You could do like that. So this game will not be televised. It will be basically on AFL Live, so you will have it on AFL Live for you. And I'm not sure how they're going to get the feed, if they'll get the Monumental Sports Network feed, or if they'll do just the in-house arena feed like they did against the Baltimore Brigade. With that said, and the radio for the Cleveland Gladiators. And basically, Cleveland's looking to score their first victory of the season. The Valor are looking to come back after their first loss of the season. This will be a second game against the established game, a team in the league, the Cleveland. So it looks like it's going to be a tough game for both teams. Cleveland's going to have to be played more, have more to look forward to this, because they're, like I said, they're looking for their first victory of the year. And they need to get something jump-started to get on the right track. They need to have their offensive line protect Arvell Nelson if he's going to be still the starting quarterback. It's early in the week. Things can change between the time of this podcast goes out and Thursdays, when they're able to make their final announcements on their player status on both teams. So it looks pretty well. You got Eric Meyer, the veteran quarterback. He looks to come back, and he always is one to always make any kind of corrections, and he, with his veteran status, he's able to get that done. And will he lead the team to back on the right ship and towards the win? So this looks to be a very competitive game, and we'll see how it turns out. Fewest mistakes, like always, will determine basically who will win. So, and it's going to be probably a battle of possessions again. Moving on to Saturday, this is going to be the CBS Sports Network game of the week, and this is going to be Baltimore Brigade traveling to Philadelphia. So Baltimore will be once again on the road, and this will be their last game before they go on a bye week for the next week. So Baltimore looking to come back and after being rested from their bye week to continue their win streak going and to play against the Arena Bowl champs. This will be a tough match, because this will be Philadelphia's sort of spotlight game, to where I'm sure they're going to be lowering the banner, the Arena Bowl champion banner, in front of Philadelphia's 9th man there at the Wells Fargo Center. I'm sure the ring there will be loud. I'm sure, Ron Jaworski will, of course, be sitting there in the front row, and he'll be hyping things up like he always does. Philadelphia is probably have a little more emotional ride to this game because of the championship status and the banner and the little celebration that they'll probably be doing in front of their fans. Will they be able to keep their calm and composure when it comes time to kickoff and host the Brigade? Because the Brigade have posed to front to where, they may be an expansion team. They may be only about a half a year old as an expansion team. They are off for their first victory. That was not an easy victory to come in front of Cleveland 2 weeks ago. They're fresh off their bye. Any adjustments that have been made by Omar Smith, the head coach, and Coach Howes, the defensive coach, probably have been made, and I'm sure they got their teams prepared and ready for a very tough, and I'm just going to say it's probably going to be a high-scoring battle between the two. The Brigade probably has their quarterback Carden ready to go. He looks more composed. He's got one win, one full game start, full everything, under his belt. I'm sure he's going to come back now, and he is going to be ready to go and on firing on all cylinders. So this is going to be a good game to watch on CBS Sports Network. It happens, I believe, at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That's 7 p.m. in Philadelphia. And I forgot to mention that the The Washington Valor game is also at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Friday. So those are our 2 games this week. And it looks like the Tampa Bay Storm are taking a week off and bye. They probably could use it to recollect their heads. They did do a very close victory over Cleveland last week. But the way that things down, I'm sure Ron James is not going to be satisfied with that, and definitely is not going to settle for that kind of victory. And the way it came down back and forth in the last minute of the game, which is arena football, and that's how it can happen. But, I'm sure Ron James is going to look at this week and bye after the players come back from their week off and get things ready and fire all cylinders and make the necessary adjustments to correct Tampa Bay and keep them on the winning streak. To look at the standings for the week, let's go and pull up the standings. The standings, we have Philadelphia still undefeated. They're 2-0. So they basically have the first place ownership. And right behind them is the Tampa Bay Storm at 2-1. Washington Valor and the Baltimore Brigade are both tied at 1-1. But because of the earlier victory over the Brigade in Week 1, Washington Valor are in the 3rd position and Baltimore is in the 4th. And then, of course, the winless Gladiators are in the 5th position. Let's transition now to take a look at what the power rankings are going for this week. Of course, because they're undefeated, Philadelphia Soul are in the 1 spot. Tampa Bay Storm are in the 2 spot. And then I actually, you can make a comment between 3 and 4 as being Washington Valor, Baltimore Brigade. Of course, number 5, I have Cleveland because they have yet to win a game. I chose Baltimore as number 3 spot. I took the way that Baltimore came back and fired on all cylinders against Cleveland to get their first victory, as compared to how they were in the first night against Washington, where they barely scored 6 points in the first half and they had to do a major comeback from behind. They leveled their playing field out a little bit better. They were a little stronger. As for Washington, they basically did the opposite. They basically were okay in the first half against Philadelphia Soul, but then were completely scoreless and just didn't show up to play in the second half. And with the star caliber players that Washington does have on their playing squad, with Eric Meyer, T.T. Tolliver, Gregory, so it's just unlikely that would transpire. And Mike Washington also, on the offensive side of things, to take place the way that it did. So with that said, I had to drop him down to the number 4 spot in the power ranking. This is the Ninth Man Nation power ranking. If you want to look at it, you could go to ninthmannation.net and then just click on under the stats, you click on standings, and I have it on the standings page. So that's the power ranking. So once again, the Philadelphia Soul 1, Tampa Bay Storm 2, Baltimore Brigade 3, Washington Valor 4, and Cleveland Gladiators 5. And with that said, that's going to be coming up to the end of the podcast. This has been an Inside the Nation podcast, 2nd episode. We look to have some, to work with the teams to organize in our different schedulings to record an episode to where I could get some guests on. We'd look to have that on upcoming episodes of Inside the Nation, ITN Podcast. Also to let know that in the futures, right off the bat, not going to happen, but maybe possibly by postseason. If not, we can make it towards where we have off-season shows of ITN, and the shows won't be transitioned over to our YouTube channel. So if you want to go to ninthmannation.tv, which is our YouTube channel, and subscribe there and be ready for our video shows. Hopefully we could get them done by the postseason. I'm hoping, because I don't want to rush into it. I'll make sure I do it right. If not postseason, then it'll be shortly after the Arena Bowl and probably towards Labor Day weekend in September. But that's what we have. So until then, be sure to subscribe to us and follow us on our podcast at Spreaker.com. You should search for Inside the Nation Podcast, and we're there. I'll provide all the notes to our podcast hosting down below. And with that said, we're also on iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, we're at SoundCloud, and we're also on Overcast. And then I share it onto our YouTube channel that you can get the audio podcast on your YouTube channel until it becomes a video show and other video features we plan to have on our YouTube channel. And with that said, we'll see you next week for Inside the Nation Podcast. Talk to you later. I'm Eric Thoreau, and we hope you subscribe.